Well, this is known as the old Emmett Briley home. The Brileys lived here, I know, in the early 1900s, on up until maybe around 1920. And after that, when Mr. Kurt Ingram and Miss Bertha Sinclair married, they lived here. This was their home beginning upon their marriage in 1924. And they lived here until, I think, the mid-1930s, when they moved to what was called the Mayo Place over on Allen Lake Road. But the name kind of stuck here because this was the Briley home for so many years, and Mr. and Ms. Briley had a lot of children, and those children were raised in this house. And the Brileys were distant cousins to my grandmother, and they came from Meriwether County, Georgia, which the actual home that they were raised in, or that Mr. Briley was raised in, is about 22 miles from where we're standing. And the Brileys originally came from Anson County, North Carolina, probably in the 1830s and 40s, and settled in Meriwether County. And then Mr. Emmett Briley was born there and moved to here. And as far as I know, his branch of the family and my mother's branch of the family of Brileys are the only ones that did not migrate to Texas. All the rest of them, and it was literally dozens of family members, all moved to Texas right after the Civil War. And my great-grandfather went to Texas, but he didn't like it. He came back to Georgia, and this was his cousin that lived here. And they originally lived over near the Mulberry Creek, what they call the old Jordan Crossroads. And I think they must have moved over there in the 1880s, but they wound up here, and this is where George Emmett Briley died in 1910. But he farmed all of this land.
So we know this house was here in at least 1910. Any ideas of the age of it then?
Well, we were just talking to the current owner, and he said that he had heard that it may have belonged to some members of a family named Pritchard. This area was known as Pritchard Hill one time. I believe it was spelled Pritchard was the original spelling, Pritchard Hill. And then later years, they started spelling the road out here with two T's, and it was called Pritchard Hill Road. And then the name of the road got changed sometime in the 1950s, I believe, and it's now called Twin Lake Road. I get them confused. There's Twin Lake, and then there's Allen Lake on down the road a little ways. But Twin Lake Road runs right over here into Mount Airy Road. And Mount Airy Road goes down to the bridge that we just went to a couple of nights ago.
The Pig Boy Bridge.
Yeah. And the Oshatchee Creek runs behind this house. And back in there behind this house was the well-known fishing hole known as 10-foot. Fishing hole and swimming hole for a lot of the area folks that grew up here. But it's my understanding that since the beavers have dammed up Oshatchee Creek on up a little further above here, that is all now shallow water now.
Yeah.
And there's no longer a 10-foot.
Yeah, the current owner said that 10-foot is now 10-inch.
Yeah.
This house was another victim of the asbestos siding salesman that came through Waverly Hall. Yeah. We've talked about before.
When I was growing up, the porch had been taken off this house. It sat here with no porch. And then later, the owners added this nice country-looking porch on this, and it's a very nice old home, very nice old country home. And I think it's been used over the years as rental property and maybe a hunting cabin and so forth. But I think it's still got good bones.
Yeah. It's got a little concrete pad for a porch here. Yeah. It's an old whiskey barrel.
You can see where there was a smaller porch at one time, right there. See on either side.
Yeah.
And it appears that the house is maybe board and batten underneath there. The weatherboarding runs vertical rather than horizontal. What do you think?
I see that. Yeah, it's definitely not the shiplap weatherboarding.
Mm-hmm.
It's called shiplap. See if this door is open. We might have to go through the back. Yeah, we got to go through the back. That's definitely a nice little porch here, though.
don't know what year this was built, but I do know that in the 1890s, the Briley family was living here then. And this is where a lot of their children were born. And Mr. Briley, Emmett Briley, was a co-founder of the Pritchett Hill School, which was close by here. And it's my understanding that after the railroad came through, where it came through town, that the Pritchett Hill School was closed and the Foster Institute was closed, and they built one school in town. You know, they consolidated into one nice schoolhouse. And that's where everyone went to school from that point forward. But so that would have been probably in the late 1880s, maybe, when the schoolhouse here was founded.
Gotcha. Walk through the bramble.
There's lots of yellow.
So, there was one. Dan and I were just talking about off cameras. There's a big yellow jacket nest down there, so I don't think we should go in that room.
No.
I think they've got a nest in there. Right. Yes. That's probably what the outside of the house looked like, very similar to that door.
Yeah.
Board and batten. And look at the tiny little floorboards in there too. They're real thin floorboards.
Watch up in the ceiling that there's no big nest of something.
Will this back here have been an addition?
Well, the roof line, looking at it from the outside, it appears that these were just back originally, shed rooms on the back. There's a big nest right up there. You see it?
I do.
But to answer your question, I don't know. This does, it does look like they might have been added on, but you know, you'd have to go outside and look. I believe this may have been a sweeping roof that came down, and this might have been a back porch.
So that's just a wasp nest up there. I don't think they'll get too angry unless we bother them, but there is a yellow jacket's nest in this room. I see them, yeah, I see them swarming in and out of it. So we definitely don't want to go in there. And a matter of fact,
Those are what's called guinea wasp.
those,
Yes.
here, I'll let you hold this for me. I'm just gonna, y'all don't mind me, I ain't bothering y'all. But we're just gonna go ahead and shut those yellow jackets up in there. Okay. If you don't see them, they're not there.
Had some cool weather, but not quite enough cool weather to kill off some of these things.
Yeah, this is, watch your step on the floor, but this is pretty cool. So the current owner did tell us that there was some vandalism, for lack of a better word, inside of the house at some point, which you can see what's spray painted in here. But this is not what I was expecting coming in here. Not that very nice mantelpiece. Is this a removed wall?
I would say it is. I would say this probably had a hallway through the middle here, with a door on either end. And this was probably a doorway here going into a front room, and that was a front room over there, just like that. Someone in later years turned this into a kitchen.
Crawl space.
Yeah. If you look up in that crawl space, you can see the original roof line, I believe.
Oh, really?
See where it comes down, it does not go out
Yeah, I see that.
like it does now from the outside. You can see the old. So that is an addition on the back. So this was 2 rooms and a kitchen out that way. I believe that doorway there goes into what used to be the old kitchen. I wonder if this room originally had a fireplace. Most of these houses like this have a chimney at both ends of the house. There's been extensive remodeling here.
Whoa.
Oh, that may be where the pig boy spends his nights. Enough about the pig boy, huh?
After you, Dan.
Yeah. Thanks. Oh, yeah. Yeah, this is an addition. You can see the original end of the house there.
Oh, yeah, there we can see the board and remains of the board and batten. I don't know, it doesn't, I don't see any sign where there would have been a chimney there.
No, there's not.
And I guess that's the original end of the house. Right there you can see that beam that comes down right there.
Yeah.
And so this is just a more modern addition for sure. And this paneling was probably around the time this addition was built.
Mineral oil. You ever had a dose of mineral oil?
Mm-mm.
You don't want a dose of mineral oil. Well, the difference between that and castor oil is mineral oil tastes a little better. Not much,
Right?
but it has the same effect.
Yep.
And that's where we saw that the tin has gone off the roof of the house on the outside. It's pretty far gone.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna excuse myself from this part of the house. I think you might be right about this is where the pig boy hangs out. This is day and night. I guess day and night brand.
That's a water heater.
Oh, it's a water heater?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
It's called a tabletop water heater.
Gotcha.
There's one in the Methodist Church in Waverly Hall that's been in there since it was built in 1948.
Oh,
It
really?
still works. I think it's I can't remember the brand. It seems like it's a Westinghouse.
I've never seen one of those before. Well, like Dan said earlier, lots of changes to this house, for sure. I think as we mentioned, this kind of doorway would have been right here where you see that board in the ceiling, probably would have been a wall there. And we've still got these really thin floorboards in here. These are the narrowest floorboards that I've ever seen.
Yeah, I think that this has been refloored
Oh, really?
and that is oak flooring.
Gotcha.
If it looks narrow like that, I believe it's oak. Yeah.
Now, what about this mantle over here? Is that original?
No, that's something else that someone built in here.
I was gonna say, it is mighty fine.
Yeah, that's nice. I would imagine this house had a crudely built, rather primitive mantle in its day. But can you imagine 2 rooms, maybe a dining room and a kitchen, and there were about, I don't know how many children the Brileys had, but I know of at least 5 or 6
Yeah.
that were raised in here. But people back then were a little bit closer knit than we are today, I guess.
Right. No doubt.
They would sometimes have 4 beds in a room. Used to be a door there.
I was looking at that when you were saying that, and then I saw it. It says door here on there.
That went into the room where the yellow jacket nest is.
Oh, that's the yellow jacket room?
Yeah.
Huh. I wonder if it originally, how it was originally laid out.
I know you can probably tell more from the outside.
Yeah.
Here, but I believe that this was probably a back porch originally. Oh, let's see what kind of music they listen to. Elijah and the Ebonies. Sock it to 'em soul, brother. And not grits. Hot grits. I put my glasses on, I could read. Elijah and the Ebonies. It sounds like something from the 1960s or early 70s.
Yellow jackets are one of the wasps that I really don't want to mess with. When I was a kid, I did 2 stupid things with yellow jackets. There was a hole in the ground that I knew the yellow jackets lived in, and I stuck a stick in it and lived to regret it. And the other thing was just, there was a pile of stuff like this, similar sort of thing there at an old house, and there was a yellow jacket's nest in them, and they got me real good.
They will get you.
Yeah, they will. So we ain't going far in this one. Here, let's leave this room. Yellow jackets are getting angry. This is the yellow jacket room right here. And that is their nest right there. I'm gonna back out of there real quick like. I'll let Dan walk by next. Well, there's the well. Well, there's the well. And there's the well. There's 2 wells out here. And maybe something else over here. Nope, no well in there.
Probably right there.
Yep, there's the well. And there's the well as well. That's I guess, maybe a more modern well. It's got a pump installed on top of it. And this is the back of the house.
You can tell more about the addition and the sweep of the roof line on this side of the house. Never realized the house was that small.
Yeah. So if we kind of follow the outline of the roof, let me get my finger in the right place. You go, it's up like that and then down, and would have ended right about there where my finger is, then you can see this other sweep out, which is maybe a porch turned into to some rooms or something like that.
If you look at the weatherboard and the foundation,
Yeah.
it's original because they went right on over it with the asbestos siding. But the see the foundation and the inside the house was sealed with tongue and groove.
Yeah.
So this shed room is an original part of the house, I believe.
Gotcha.
This will be the inside.
Oh, that's
It's never painted inside.
yeah. It's beaded.
I would imagine the whole house is like this inside. You know, somebody has sealed it with, look like sheetrock and plywood.
Right.
I bet in those front rooms, if you took the sheetrock down, that's what's under it.
Gotcha.
It's probably beautiful.
I think this chimney was rebuilt, Dan.
I believe so too. Oh, those are new brick.
Yeah.
I don't know about that window though.
Yeah.
You can see that there was a window there. It's been taken out, but that was a small window.
So judging on what we've seen, Dan, you think 1890s is about when this house was built?
Well, I think they were living here in the 1880s. So I would say probably 1880s, 1890s. That is, if the Brileys built it.
Yeah.
If someone built it before them, I don't know. It could be better dated by looking under it maybe, but I don't see an access door going under there anywhere, and I really don't know that I'd want to crawl under there this time of year anyway.
No.
Snakes are looking for a place to go for the winter right now, and
Pig boy might be under there too.
there's liable to be anything under there. We've already seen the wasp and yellow jackets.
Yeah.
Beautiful old place. This was a big farm at one time.
All right, so Dan's just telling me that this is an old hitching post out here and under the pecan tree in the house. And we're talking about whether we believe it's original to this place or not, but probably not. But it's still a neat piece. So that was what's a hitching post, Dan?
That was to hitch the horse or the mule. And you rode up in the front yard. Well, now we're at the Waverly Hall Cemetery. This was formerly Mount Zion Methodist Church Cemetery before it became the city property. But this is the burial place of Mr. Emmett Briley and his wife, Mattie Striblin Briley. Like I said earlier, Emmett was he was born in Meriwether County. His father came there from Anson County, North Carolina, and he died here in Waverly Hall in that farmhouse. And his wife, I think she sold the farm after his death. I think after all the children were raised, she sold the farm. But yeah, because you know, there was other people living there in the 1920s, and she lived until 1960. But this is them and some of their children. They've got a daughter and a son buried here, but they had lots of other daughters that are buried other places. But their daughter, Anna Mary Briley, married Benjamin Reedy Carlisle, and I think he's maybe the great grandson of Captain Reedy, who's buried up in Rough Edge. You remember going to
Yeah.
that cemetery?
Yeah, there's Reedy's and the Carlisles up in Rough Edge.
Well, that's some of that family, and they had a son named Emmett Carlisle who lived up at Oak Mountain, and I knew Mr. Emmett real well. He lived most of his life, I think, in the Atlanta area, and then moved back here after he retired. And then he was buried in Westview Cemetery in Atlanta. And this is his folks there.
Okay.
But anyway, this is the final resting place of that branch of Briley's. And they were, like I said, cousins to my grandmother. And my son is named Briley. And everybody says, well, how do you spell it? And I say, Riley with a B. That's what he tells everybody.
Yeah. Right, it says George Emmett Briley. That's Briley. March 7th, 1864, and November 1st, 1910. This is death date. It's not my will that thy be gone. And
My will but thine be done. I think.
okay, yeah, there you go. I've butchered that. Not my will, but thine be done. And did he die in the house? Is that right?
As far as I know, he did.
Gotcha. And then his wife, Mattie Stripling Briley, she was born January 16th, 1867, and died February 26, 1960. Epitaph reads, "Thy memory shall ever be a guiding star to heaven." And this is his grave too. There's another epitaph on it that says, "Dearest husband, thou hast left us, and thy loss we deeply feel. But 'tis God who hath." What is that, Dan? But 'tis God who hath
Bereft us.
But 'tis God who hath bereft us. He can all our sorrow heal. Then you said this is a son and a daughter here?
Yes.
Clifford Eugene Briley, Anna Mary Briley Carlisle, and her husband Benjamin Reedy Carlisle.
It's read differently on there in the way it's supposed to be spelled.
Alright everybody, I hope you enjoyed this video on the old Briley home place here. This house has definitely seen a lot of changes throughout its history, but it still is a very nice old house out here. And again, thank you to the property owner who let us come out and take a look at it. Thanks for Dan for coming out and sharing some history of it. Hope y'all enjoyed. We'll see you next time.